those.
Yeah, go ahead, I just gotta fix the sheet.
Inside of those rows, cities and applicant before, ER. I mean, I don't know, you wouldn't be presenting the application, but you're still entering.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just the role I'm playing, so it's disclosure. Obviously, I'm here representing the city as a whole. We're here to get the issue on your front of the contractor.
I don't understand.
I can't.
If I have a conflict, I can't just get.
Huh?
When I have a conflict, I have a conflict. I just can't. This person.
You have a conflict?
No, I said when I have one, I have one.
Right.
I can't just snap my fingers and.
So if you think that's a conflict,
I just,
you can sit out in the audience. I don't care.
well, I don't know. It occurs to me.
Right.
That, I mean, I don't know what to say about it, but it's.
Okay, well,
I don't know how you can advise us.
um, all right. Good evening. Welcome to the June 17th, 2019
I mean to be a jerk, but.
Zoning Board of Appeals meeting where we hear various applicants' requests for variances and other matters. We have three
City's the applicant and we're the city.
items on the agenda. Item number one is Joseph Whalen, 25 Prospect. Are you here? Okay. Number two, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Ray Ailey.
First thing when I saw him, I didn't really know why he was the
Anybody here for Kentucky Fried Chicken? No, we'll see about that. And Prime, special use permit request for planning and development. Who's here for Prime? Okay. In the audience, who's here for Whalen? I mean, I know, but is anybody here for Kentucky Fried Chicken? Anybody here about Prime? Could you raise your hands? Okay. I'm surprised. No, I'm not. I want everybody to understand, we'll get on with this in a second, that the Prime Plattsburgh special use permit request for planning and development tonight will be informational only. We as a zoning board cannot take, nor do we anticipate any action, but we can't take any action tonight in any way. We're not going to be voting on any special use permit this evening at all. Because the lead agency at this point is the planning board for the city of Plattsburgh, and they are still in the midst of inviting comments or questions from involved agencies. I'm not even sure what that full list is, but of anybody. And so we have not, we cannot take any further action, whatever that is, until we have an approved seeker done, a seeker review, state environmental quality review form finalized and approved. So there will be no action. We are going to talk about this. We're going to get some examples from Prime of what they're doing, and we're going to have some public comment period. This is not a public hearing. This is not going to be a public hearing in the sense that it's official. Everything is going to be part of this entire application. We really won't be doing that until after we have a seeker, because we don't even know if this is the final plan until they get done with the seeker review. This is a very transparent, I don't comment much, but I read a lot of social media, let's just put it that way. Okay, so this board is as transparent and unpolitically connected as anything in the city. We act very independently. Nobody has tried to influence us in any way, and we are, our job is to make sure that we protect and help develop the city of Plattsburgh properly and quality of life, and that's what we do. And we've been doing it a long time. So we're here to listen to everybody. We're here to listen to Prime. realistic people. I will set some guidelines. We're not here to talk about what else DRI money can be used for. We're not here to talk about any other politicians in the city. We're not here to talk about potholes. We're not here to talk about other buildings. Frankly, we're not even here to talk about any other DRI projects. We're here to listen to Prime, and that's what we're here to do. And if people have comments about what they do or don't like about the Prime project as presented, or suggestions for it, we can talk about that. We're not gonna probably have a ton of repetition where 8 people say the same thing. But anyway, and I'm not trying to be a dictator about this, but this is gonna be a nice, clean, transparent process. That's the word here, transparent. So we'll start with Mr. Whalen, come on up. And you want a larger driveway, or you did give us a thing that showed where the property line is, so you're not paving too close to the property line. You want to make a driveway 20 feet wide by 40 feet long, and can I assume that's who you park more vehicles in it?
Yes.
Right.
Single lane driveway now, we have a hard time parking the vehicles in there, especially during winter time with the plows and stuff. So it's
Mhm.
widen out.
Right. I'm gonna open this up to the board just for them to ask questions, or, the issue really is that, we aren't supposed to create parking in the front 25 feet of the property. That's really what the issue is. When we do that, theoretically, you could put 4 cars there. People do it, I'm not saying they don't, but that's really where the variance is coming, is because of the, if your driveway, I just wanted to explain to you what we do, it's different, but, if your driveway led to a 2-car garage, the driveway technically leads up to 2 legal parking spaces in the 2-car garage. But anyway, that's the issue, so I'll leave it to the board members to start commenting and ask questions. Do you have questions? Do you have comments? Does anybody have a strong feeling either way about whether we should or not grant this?
What's the required setback for a driveway from side yard?
3 feet, right? Paving is 3 feet.
From the property line?
Yeah,
3 feet, yeah.
3 feet. So even if it went on the side, he couldn't get a legal parking spot without a variance.
No.
3 feet,
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions before I open to the audience? I'm looking for any comments regarding this from anybody in the audience. This is actually a public hearing. So does anybody want to make a comment regarding 25 Prospect Avenue? No? Okay. I'm closing the public hearing portion of that. We have it. Do you want me to just proceed with the secret?
Well, what are people's preferences? Do we prefer to have them parking more in front of the house or more off to the side of the house?
I don't think it matters.
I think as long as it looks,
Personally, I think that the more you can keep a nice yard in front of the house and keep it over to the side is, like he's got, is the better. But I mean, he's
I'm
got
thinking
5
move-
feet
I'm
on each
thinking
side.
moving it more towards.
Yeah, but I don't think you want, how much are you past the house with that? The 5 feet is just about even with the
probably
house,
about
isn't
3
it?
feet.
3
A
feet
little bit
past that.
past that left edge.
3 feet. Because the house is 10 feet and he's coming 7.
Yeah,
The problem if he goes that, too far the other way, he's gonna have trouble putting the snow. Not his neighbor's driveway.
Well, except.
yeah, I'd
if you-
rather
if you
keep him
move
away
over,
from the
you can
neighbor.
put
The other,
snow
Scott,
next to the house.
the other thing is to keep him away from the neighbors.
Yeah, but if you move it over farther, you can put the snow back farther,
Put him more over to the right, you're saying?
to the left.
Left.
Well, no, then he's closer to the neighbors.
But then you have room on, next to the house.
Say it again?
That's
You
it.
can go in next to the house,
No, he can't because he only has 10 feet.
but with snow,
You can
Huh?
go 7 and 3.
with snow, you can put snow back there.
Oh, with snow. Or do you snow blow or do you plow?
Snow,
Huh?
Snow, I have a snow blower.
So,
Matter of personal preference.
okay. If there's not, I'm gonna look at the seeker, and we have a short form seeker. And, he does have building permit, it's also, number 2 would be ZBA variance. He has the yes part, right? So we're gonna change that. Otherwise, I don't think there's possibly any environmental impact. I'm assuming that the water drains out to the street and it's gonna continue with this, correct? Not dumping onto the neighbor, but onto the street. Does anybody have any questions regarding the seeker? And if not, I'm looking for a motion regarding the seeker and my ability to sign it.
I'll make a motion on appeal 2200 that the chair check no or small impact may occur on part 2 of the
Okay.
seeker and sign after checking the box that on page 4 that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact.
Okay, seconded by Kelly. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I will sign that. And if there are no further questions, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve for appeal 2200 for Joseph Whalen to replace his existing driveway by increasing the width from the existing, 10 feet to 20 feet.
A yes vote, a second
second.
by
Second.
Kathleen. And a yes vote is to approve. And you have 5 yes votes, you're all set. Thank you for participating in the process. That wasn't that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is anybody here from Kentucky Fried Chicken?
You know what, he's not here, I just talked to, Ray Ailey, he can't make it tonight, something came up, and he wants the board to, rule on it as it is. If you feel like doing it.
Okay. It's fine with me. Anybody have a problem with it? Okay. Is there anybody here, this is a variance, a wall sign variance for Kentucky Fried Chicken up on Route 3. They're allowed, in a nutshell, they're allowed 80 square feet of signage. They already have existing 115 square feet of signage. As part of a company-wide makeover, rebranding or whatever, they're required to do certain signage, and they would be going from 115 to 132 square feet, much of which is along the sides of the building. The original amount that they're allowed is based on a 40-foot-long facade that fronts on the public way. In other words, the front of the building that fronts along Cornelia Street. That's why they're limited in size. If you took either of the side length of the building, which is certainly visible, the one is, they'd be allowed 150. So, but they're looking for 132 square feet. That's what we're talking about now, is changing the size. Are there any comments from the public regarding Kentucky Fried Chicken? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing portion. They didn't answer 2 correctly. It is ZBA and building permit, right? ZBA variances and building. Otherwise, I don't believe that anything would really, I mean, the minor amount of electrical, I'm assuming. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion on the seeker then.
I'll make a motion in regards to Appeal 2201 and review of the short environmental assessment form, Part 1. As a result of that, the chair checked no or small impact may occur in Part 2 for questions 1 through 11. And as a result of that, that the chair sign, check the box that the action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts, and sign as the responsible officer.
Seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, there's no further discussion.
I'll make a motion on the appeal number 2201 for a Class B variance to replace signs and graphics and logos, to grant that variance pursuant to the plans that were submitted to the board.
Seconded by Kelly. I guess vote is to approve the 132 or square feet or whatever is shown on the plans, in case it's slightly different. Okay, we have a, Ray? We have a 5-0 yes vote. He's been approved, Joe, if you want to let him know. Thank you. Okay. We're going to take a 4-hour break. No. All right, time for the show now. Prime, come on up. And what we're looking for now is Prime is going to give me a presentation, is that correct? Description of the project. Come on up. And this is regarding our special use permit for planned unit development at the Durkee Street lot development, correct? And just to be clear, this is the plan that we got, we got after our package, we got another plan that was developed. This is the newest one. I'm asking, right?
It is, yes.
Yes, correct.
Good evening, thanks for having me. My name is Turner Bradford, Garland Johnson. We are the civil engineers for Prime Companies, who's the developer. I have Deb Osterhout from Prime with me here. And so, we do understand, you did a great synopsis, that you guys cannot take action here tonight, until we complete seeker and county planning board. But we're here to present our current plan nonetheless, and obviously we'll come back when those are completed and you can take action. So, last Thursday, the common council approved
Okay.
this plan. It does look slightly different probably than what was shown at the common council plan. We took the exact same plan, took out the aerial, took out the colors and made it look more like a standard site plan.
See,
But everything is the same.
somebody else?
So the project is one building,
Why not?
on the north of the site. And if you want to pan down, there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Hid behind the mirror. And a surface parking lot on the south portion of the site. If you want to actually pan back up, I'll talk about the building. So the building will have a parking garage underneath in the basement that will encompass the entire footprint of the building as well as the courtyard area in between. That'll be one continuous basement parking garage with an entrance on the very top right of the page off of Ridge Street. The building is anticipated to be 4 stories high and will include
It's saying again, it's 4 stories.
yeah, and anticipated to be 4 stories high. That's right.
So what's the full height of the building?
So I think we're ballparking 60 feet.
Because doesn't it call high rises the stories times 12?
Yes.
So that would be,
That'd be a variance.
okay.
There's we can talk about this, but there's a calculation, there are several high-rise calculations, so you're gonna wanna look at that, the high-rise calculations. I'm pretty good at math, I do math every day, and I'm a little baffled by it. But anyway, it talks about a couple of things. One is setbacks, but it talks about 12 feet, the number of stories times 12 is the allowable height for high-rises.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Again, that's why we're here, right? We're having an informational meeting to figure
No,
out.
I love it, absolutely, that's
Yeah.
100%, why we're here. The, building at this point is anticipated to include 10,000 square feet of commercial retail on the first floor, and then 114 residential units.
Is the commercial, just so I understand it, is the commercial space where? I wasn't clear, but I know where the building is, but is it along Durkee Street?
Correct. It would essentially be the wing of the building along Durkee Street.
Right.
And
Is there
that's-
any first floor residential along Durkee Street?
Not along Durkee, the two wings, coming back there, yep, and there.
No, along Durkee
Not
Street?
along Durkee, yes.
What about Bridge, I mean?
Yes, along Bridge.
Okay, but not on Durkee. I'm just trying to understand,
No.
because it's not that clear, but that, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. Yep.
Great.
That's, yes, that is the current thought.
It is allowed. We know that it was generally thought to be allowed because of the river, you know, having apartments on the river. and stuff, so. And I understand that doesn't mean you can completely do that. I want to understand that extent.
No,
Okay?
sure, no,
Great.
I appreciate the questions, that's why we're here, so please, if anyone else, just fire away.
I
Yeah.
have a question. How many units are on each of those wings on the on that first floor?
That's a good question. So I don't promise to have all the answers.
Okay, no.
Um,
I'll say, yeah, I guess I would say informationally as we're doing this, it'd be nice to know the layout of, and I know you haven't developed that.
no, for sure.
But it would be nice to know, I don't care about the 10,000 feet, how it's broken up, as long as you say, this is the commercial space, these are 1, 2, 3 bedroom units. That would be nice to know.
So, my understanding is the current breakout is all 1 and 2 bedroom units.
Right, so we've removed any 3-bedroom units, everything right now is a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom unit. And, as you go down on both Bridge Street at the top, so there'll be, along the top, you can see the bunkhouse there, those will be some of the smaller, decks that'll be out, and the same thing will be on the other side, on the southern side of the site. The only thing we're doing right now is the apartments, the residences that are inside, those are still a little bit of a moving, you know, we're still working on seeing how that setup is gonna work. Once we figure out the rest of the layout of the building, then we'll be able to figure out exactly how many units are in there. But as Turner mentioned, right now, we're about at 114, and maintaining the first floor front will be the 10,000 square foot commercial, and as you turn the corner, everything on the side there, as you go down towards, that's where the residence starts, and the same thing on the other side. The upper left corner, that's gonna be more the entrance to the area, so there'll be some of the leasing, offices, that type of, structurally in that part of the building.
It's okay, we keep sort of interrupting you, that's all.
No,
All right,
this
go
is-
ahead, okay, so go
Let's do
ahead.
it, yeah. I guess everyone's favorite topic of parking, so the site currently has 292 total parking spaces.
Say it again.
292 total
Right.
parking spaces.
There are how many underground?
165.
Right. You know, I looked at this, if there are 30-something in the courtyard,
Yeah, I think 35.
Where the, can you explain to me where the 1,600, where you're fitting 165 at? Is it one story of underground parking?
One story of underground parking, but under all of the red and the green.
Under all of the,
All of the red and the green in its entirety
Right.
will be one big open space of parking.
okay, but that's still not gonna be 165, is it?
Yeah?
Okay. I guess I don't understand it. That's what I was trying to figure out, because if you've only got 35 in the courtyard, but you, I mean, obviously, you lay it out. So is it all under the, all the parking is one layer
Yeah.
under the building?
So if you look at the building that we're looking at now, picture it, everything's built on a deck. So that first floor coming off of Durkee, that's all one deck, and then everything underneath the entire footprint is parking. So some of the items here where there isn't parking, you've got the area where the green space is, all the amenities, so that's additional parking underneath. And then anything else curving, so all those small, the lot that we have right there coming off of Durkee,
Okay.
we're taking away some of the space of that for green space and
Right.
different
But
things.
anyway, you're confident that under that footprint, you're gonna fit 165 plus the 35 plus the 50 or whatever it is. Right, okay?
Yeah, we laid it out with the.
No, I'm not saying you're not, I just wanna make sure.
Yep, and with the ADA, for each lot. So I think it's 165 in the basement.
Yeah,
I wanna say 35 in the courtyard and 92 in the surface lot down below.
and the lot, oh yeah, that right, that, not, those two parts include the 50 public, if you will.
Yeah, so
Well,
290,
I call it the 50 extra, you need 242,
242 by,
and you're providing
by
292.
zoning is
Right.
what is required, and 292 is what is currently being provided. That's correct. So there's the pedestrian walkway through the middle of the site, lined by the trees there. That's sort of been an element of the RFP, RFQ process, to connect the
Mhm.
Arts Park to the west and the Riverwalk to the east, which will be designed with coordination and in conjunction with Saratoga Associates, who's handling those two projects. And we'll integrate the connection of those three projects on either end with ours. And then I guess the other big element we're showing is along the parking lot on the southern portion of the site is the area of future development, which at this point is gonna remain open green space. And we'd like to reserve that, as an opportunity for, probably, commercial retail, if and where.
When are the plans for the future development to take place, do you think? 2 years, 5 years?
There's no plan for those right now, that's gonna stay the way it is, and then if someone
Yeah.
comes to the city and says, we're looking for an area to put a restaurant in, we'd like a town by the water, then you'd be able to approach and say, this is a good spot.
So if there's no plans for that right now, and that's existing parking lot in a sense, right? And that's coincidentally about the size of the farmer's market, right? Or is that the size of the farmer's market? It's a little bigger than the farmer, it's a little longer, isn't it?
Right, 'cause it goes
Right,
all the way.
but anyway, would that indicate that until future plans took place there, farmer's market could stay there?
That is not the plan at this time.
That is or is not?
That's not is not the plan to have the.
So it would, just, that land would not, it would be used solely for parking then?
Right
It
now,
would- It would remain green space.
What's that?
Green space.
Oh, green space.
Park space.
There would be green
Yeah.
space.
Yep.
And I just wanna be clear,
Because-
you said right now existing, there's 292 spaces. the 290, what is it?
Anyway,
All of the spaces in your basement parking, your courtyard, and your service lot, those will all be utilized by the tenants of the building. That's not gonna be open to everybody, or who's gonna have access to those? The underground parking,
The underground parking is strictly for the tenants of the building.
okay,
And then the interior of the parking is for the commercial use of the building and the tenants of the building. A small portion of the southern parking lot will also be for some of the tenants, and then the rest of that will be, public parking. It's open for the commercial space.
okay.
so, just so we can, to be clear about this parking thing, and which I know is a huge concern, everybody's worried about the parking, and I get that, and I am myself, frankly. We have two kinds of parking, on-site and off-site. You're gonna provide, just to be clear, and I think it's good, that you moved from what you had before, which actually required a variance probably, the last plan, to, you require at 2 for the first 10, 1.75 for the other 104 spaces, plus 40 for 10,000 feet of commercial, you require 242 spaces on-site, off-street, on-site, we'll say it both ways. And you're providing 292, so you're gonna provide 50 spaces in excess of what you required. And that's gonna be open to the public? Okay. Do we know what the building's gonna look like?
So we've run through a couple of different renditions. We're very early in the stage. And what we've done, the last one that we've done is, we've taken more of a street view down. If you come up Ridge and you take a right, you see how the different facades, how they change, and they've got cornices up top. We've done some work with that to try to work the exterior of the building into the character of the local community. As of right now, we've added some cornices along the top of the buildings, and we've changed the relief on the front, so that it doesn't look like one flat, large building, and instead, as you come down it, some of the building front will come out, and then it'll come back again, and the roof pitch will change as well. But as I said, right now, we're so early in the process, it's more of a work in progress. So it is something though that we're trying to work into the local character of the area that we're in as well. There was a question on the number of units, and I apologize for being on my phone during the meeting, I was trying to look that up. So on the first floor, I think you had asked the first floor,
Mhm.
sorry, there's 15 units currently proposed for the first floor of.
Total between the two different wings.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm just curious, I just wanna ask, because I know you guys have done a couple of different plans. Has there ever been a consideration to have the entire bottom floor be commercial space, or at the very least, the two that are bordering the streets, have that be commercial space instead of residential? I'm just curious if that was ever part of the discussion.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good question. As you go down the street, so there's a little bit of a grade drop
Mhm.
as you go down. So as you go down the street, that's where the apartments, the residences are tucked to the right side. And as you start to go down, the first floor maintains the elevation of Durkee, and then the road starts to go down a little bit. And at that point, we've kept all of the commercial up to the front along Durkee instead, and tried to tuck all of the residential along the back, but there's not a plan to have any type of commercial on the side at any time.
On the
idea
Bridge
is just
Street
to try to
side.
maintain that level with Durkee Street.
Okay.
Most of what you'll see as you start coming down is actually gonna be the front of the parking garage underneath. As you start with the elevation, and the entrance to the parking garage is actually in the bottom, just before the bridge area.
Yeah, I'll actually accentuate what she said. There's actually quite a bit of drop from that corner of Bridge and Derby down to the bridge. So you're almost driving straight into the basement by the time you get to Bridge.
thinking.
You know how many spots?
I do have a question about, on your plan, two things. First of all, it's not, just a quick minor thing, it's city code requirements, not town. But, I was wondering why under city town code requirements, it says not applicable or not available, I'm not sure if I assume not applicable for parcel size, which is, okay, minimum building setbacks, coverage, height, and green space. And then you've got proposed, but nothing about what's required. So the zoning table, I'm not asking you to analyze this tonight, but I would think that everybody involved is gonna wanna see a zoning table that shows required, proposed.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the questions, I wanna go back to this high-rise thing again briefly, is I think that there are some requirements that the high-rise, Joe, is that correct, that the high-rise affects setbacks, the number of stories of the high-rise in that formula?
Good, yes. One of the requirements is height in stories times 3 equals the minimum yard, side, front, and rear. So if it's 4 stories, it would be 12 feet. would be
12
the
feet.
Setback requirement.
So, you don't seem to meet it on the north side then.
Yeah, so the reason why the NA is in there is that, my understanding is that the site is currently within a PUD, and that we are applying to create a PUD, I guess we will create a PUD for this project.
Yeah, you're trying, that's why you're here, you're trying to get a plan, your development approved.
Correct.
But that's still, you still have to meet the required setbacks within the plan unit development, correct, Joe?
Well, I think within the planning unit development, the planning board has the ability to be flexible on that.
Say it again?
I think the planning board has the ability to be flexible on that.
Uh-huh. If they think it was grantable,
Yes.
right. And, yeah. So, but anyway, I'd like to see that table.
Sure.
Show both, just to be, and especially the 60-plus feet, I think is we don't wanna get, if you're gonna be looking for anything that needs variances, we need to know that. Even though, there's been some discussion about the planning board being able to approve variances, if they think there would have been approved anyway, but we wanna,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
not as transparent necessarily as flawless a process as it could be if we did it, the people that are in the variance business. And we are, that is what we're here about right now, because right now you're not asking for any variances. I mean, the plan is done, so you don't even know what your actual physical requirements are yet. But our whole thing is going to be, not tonight so much, but is going to be to talk about granting of a special use permit so that you can establish a plan unit development. The new one, because there is one already, but it's going away. So that's what the zoning part's play is, and if there are variances, and that was the only other question I had. I know that this is your part, but the entire plan unit development that exists now includes the ICV building, and there is some question about whether when that lot is separated off, it needs a parking variance. So that needs to be dealt with, whoever's gonna, or not granted, and that may not be a variance that's usually granted, or it might be. In other words, that's a lot, what's happening is when we subdivide this off, and this is the lot that you're looking to get, and I understand that, but your work with the owner, the present owner of the lot, needs to also involve how that plan unit development changes, because you're bringing in the highway oil part as part of yours, and you're getting rid of some of the lot. So I just wanna make sure that's done properly. That's gonna be that's part of how we deal with the plan unit development. Okay, it's part of this process of creating the lot that's to be, all the lots are to be developed. In a sense, we're looking at, I mean, it's all West Hill I'm not gonna ask. West Alcon Park is right now part of the planned unit development that exists. It's not going to be in the future, but it has aspects that are part of the DRI. It's integrated. We wanna make sure that that's all understood and is looked at in the whole. And make sure that we don't create things that need variances separately. I'm just trying to give you things that need to be thought about. We've got some time because we're not doing anything until somebody gives us a seeker.
No, I appreciate that. That's all.
Right? Is that okay? Okay, do you have more you want to say, or I'm gonna open it up for questions?
No, any other questions at all?
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna open this up for questions.
Actually, I had a question, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
When
I'm
you were
sorry.
thinking, what is the total number of parking spaces in this lot as it exists right now, including what's next to the ICM building, everything? What is the total number that's
I think
current?
it's 289. That's always the figure I've heard, 289. Right, Bill? I think it's 289 spaces
I
total.
believe that's true.
That's the
And
number
that
I,
includes the parking garage?
Hmm?
Does that include the parking garage?
I'm not certain. I
No,
don't-
no,
I don't
that is
Okay.
just surface lot by
Okay.
itself.
so, well, let's be clear about this. When we get to really evaluate it, which is not tonight, we will know exactly what exists now, how many spaces in the parking garage, how many spaces that ICV has on their parcel, how many spaces are in the Durkee Street parking district now, right? It's a parking district right now, and how that will or will not change. What I don't think we're taking into consideration relative to the 289, or that we can take into account, is any of the on-street parking. We don't take it into account anywhere else. I'm not saying that's not a valuable piece of information, but relative to, as you know, you making sure that you have enough parking for what you're creating, and some public, and there's concern, you know, there are concerns, it's gonna come out anyway, about where the people are gonna park in the winter and all that stuff. So that's the question. But we will, as part of the final thing, once it goes through seeker, and they come to us, there's gonna be a plan that's gonna be more detailed with what your final project is, however many units, however many, I'm not saying it's not this, or it is this, I don't know. We'll have a final plan, and that will contain all the existing, that's why I asked about the zoning table, how many spaces now, how many, all that stuff. Okay, right? Okay. Can I open this, yeah? Okay, so, we're gonna open this for questions, one at a time. You need to say, your name, where you live, and, feel free to ask questions about the planned unit development, special use permit. And I'm gonna have the prime people answer as they ask. So, who wants to go first?
Chair, yeah, thank you.
I know who you are, but tell her your
I'll
name.
tell everybody who I am. You've seen me before. I'm Scott Allen, land surveyor here. Business is AES Northeast, located at 10 City Hall Place. And Mr. Chairman, I'd first like to say thank you for agreeing to be transparent and allowing others to have a say at this early stage of the zoning board process. I do have some information to provide. And although I was asked to come on behalf of a group of concerned citizens consisting of downtown businesses and business and property owners and residents, I hope that you won't think that I'm speaking for the other people that are here. So they have their own comments and questions, I'm sure.
Okay.
So, if that's agreeable, on behalf of that group, I've been asked to present a petition that contains, since this petition was distributed to area businesses and was placed online Friday morning about mid-morning. Since that time, there has been over 1,500 signatures.
And who, okay, are you gonna present that to the zoning board? That's my
We'd
question.
like to present it to the zoning board tonight.
Okay, so this, let's just be clear, because
Sure.
what I say goes in the record, correct? Okay, so this is I'm in receipt of a petition entitled Stop the Prime Company Development of the Derby Street Parking Lot, saying no to the prime development. It's got some information on the front about public tax dollars, transfer to the city block. I'm just reading this so we all understand it. Development plan, which grossly violates the guidelines. Prime's plan to build 114 apartments, is grossly over the 45 units in the DRA plan, etc. So objections to, just to summarize it, because it's here as a document and will be available to anybody that wants to see it, is a list of objections and several pages that you say includes how,
Over 1,500 signatures.
about 1,500 signatures of people who either signed in print or online, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna accept this on behalf, as an agency of the city of Plattsburgh. You present it to us, I mean, I guess you could present it to the common council, the planning board, or
Sure.
anybody, but you chose us. That's okay. And I'm gonna accept this, and I'm entering into the records that we received a petition showing people's disapproval of the project. Is that what we wanna say?
Yes, the people that signed that petition are opposed to the project in its current form.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes,
Can I
sure.
ask, the people who signed it, was there any requirement as to who they were?
No, it was open, it was distributed throughout businesses in the city. It was addressed to concerned citizens of the Plattsburgh area. So, yeah.
Their addresses are.
There may be a few
Okay,
that are,
so-
there
so
may be a few that are outside the city.
It's not
limits.
necessarily a downtown business or a
You'll find a lot of downtown
city,
business owners on there.
okay, or a city resident. It could be
No
any,
pre-requirement.
okay, all right.
No, but the addresses are.
Is that assuming that other people besides city residents come downtown, I guess, or something?
It's a regional, it's a county seat, it's a
Okay.
regional area.
So, let it also be noted that the addresses of all the people who signed are on there, so we can tell if they were or weren't city residents.
It's
Okay.
pretty much customers that come downtown.
Hold on. What's that?
It's pretty much customers that come downtown.
Okay, you have to say your name to her first.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's.
Bobby, you wanna come up
I'm
here?
Severio, Bernardi. I own Pizza Bona and 4 other buildings downtown.
I can't understand what he's saying, so.
As long as she got it. Did she
You
get
got his name? Okay. And what did you want to say?
I was trying to explain, you asking would these people sign the petition? I'm saying it's all customers that come downtown.
Okay,
They need parking spaces. You know, if they come with a car, they need to be parked.
okay,
That's pretty
Thank
much what they are. And most of them live in the city of Plattsburgh.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Scott.
Oh, one question, if I may.
Yeah,
Did I hear you say earlier that the zoning board had conceded lead agency status to the city planning board?
what?
Did I hear that the zoning board of appeals has conceded lead agency status to the
Huh?
planning board?
No, I'm having trouble with my hearing aids, you have to say it again.
My question is has the zoning board of appeals conceded the seeker lead agency status to the planning board?
I don't believe the 30-day note, the official request from the planning board has been made yet.
No,
Okay, so the zoning board has not conceded or consented to the planning board lead, seeker lead agency.
I don't know if we've received a request from them yet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Okay, next. Anybody want to raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question? Go ahead. Name first,
My name's Eric Falkgren, I work downtown.
address.
What,
Can you give her your address?
like, where I live or where I work?
Either one, but
Okay,
something.
I work at 10 City Hall Place, Reyes Northeast. Specifically Prime. You said you have 10,000 commercial space. Is that all broken up into retail?
Right now it's undefined commercial space.
Would it be more conservative to allocate some of that space to retail, especially if the seems like you are taking the low ball with just the commercial, parking instead of actually rounding up to using the retail numbers.
Let's say that again.
So the calculation for the, retail versus the commercial, the commercial only comes up to about 40 spaces for the
Right.
10,000 feet. But if any of that, is retail, the number jumps up from one parking space every 250 square feet to one parking space for every 50 square feet. And that's a significant jump in parking.
I don't believe that, is that correct for retail? I don't think so. We've never treated it like that, have we?
Could you check that for me, please?
Where did you get that out of the zoning?
I actually don't think that.
Where did you get that number?
From another engineer regarding.
From where?
It might be for restaurants, but.
Yeah, I don't think.
That's restaurants.
Do you have any future, for restaurants there?
No, right now, the space is not, it's not leased out, we don't have anybody, there's nothing set up for it quite yet.
Okay. Could the future development be used for restaurants at all, or?
Right now, the designation that we're using is we're doing commercial / retail. That isn't something that we have, tried to put into the city yet, we haven't actually gotten that far yet.
Okay. All right, anybody else? Questions, comments? Yes, go ahead. John, just tell me.
Yes. Gonna sit down, I'm old. Hi, my name is John Seaton, S-C-I-D-E-N. I own, redeveloped about 17 properties, a lot of them downtown. I currently own 43 Durkee Street, which is directly across the street of this project. I used to be on the zoning board for almost 20 years, so I've sat where you sat. One thing that I'm gonna ask you guys is to be very sensitive that we have this blank slate, and it can be anything as we hope it to be as a community. I'd ask you to be extremely sensitive to not allow them to take 10 pounds and put it in a 5-pound bag, to overuse the property. I, more than once in a public arena, have been very vocal and very disappointed that the dire straits the city of Plattsburgh is needing money for the coffers to conduct our business. Once again, we're gonna give the farm away and get nothing in return. So I'd ask you as a group, as this scheme gets developed, don't let them get away with putting 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag and over maximize their profits, because that's what it's all about. We see it time and time again with outside developers coming to town, take the cream off the top, and then they leave. There's a lot of great developers and a lot of great people in the city of Plattsburgh, and we certainly don't want to be scratching our heads saying, geez, how did that happen? So you guys are in the seat, so we're looking to you to do the right thing and hold their feet to the fire so they do the right thing.
Okay.
About his future development on the empty building where the farmer's market, I would maintain that this has been a parking lot for a long time, and it's there for a reason. It's convenient for the businesses that have utilized it. I paid into the special assessment district since 1991. Lots and lots of money for the convenience of the apartments that have been redeveloped. The people that like to go to Iris's restaurant have a convenient place to park. People that live in these apartments have a convenient place to park. I would suggest that that property be converted to public parking, because that's what we need. It's about parking, and it's about the existing businesses that have put their blood, sweat, and tears, that are maintaining, basically, they're maintaining, and they need convenient parking for their people. I've been very vocal about not putting all our eggs in one basket, but the administration, everybody feels that that's the way to go. We're gonna put all our eggs in one basket and our hopes and dreams into these people. And we all wish them a lot. But you're in the driver's seat to hold their feet to the fire, to do the right thing to this community. so that we're not scratching our heads saying, geez, what the heck happened to us? The only other thing I'd like to add is when I was on the zoning board, and Ron, maybe you can correct me, I thought it was not allowed to have apartments on the ground floor in the business district.
That was changed, it's allowed in the planned unit development and business district. That's allowed now. Only in the planned unit development, not in general throughout, you know, the smaller buildings on Market Street.
Yeah. Thank you for your time, and
Thank you.
we're all watching.
All right, thanks. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I want,
Oh, got one over here.
go ahead.
So my question is specific. David Merkel, I have two properties downtown Market Street, 7882 Market. I'm formerly from the Parking Advisory Committee, and so I'm looking at these diagonal spots on Durkee. Are they on the footprint of the current lot now, or do they use up some of the roadway that exists now?
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm sorry, Dave, what was your specific question?
So the diagonal spaces on Durkee Street, on the east side of the street, are they contained fully within the parking lot boundary as it sits now, the parcel, or are they in the roadway also?
No, as far as the special use permit application, the PUD application, there is going to be a lot line adjustment that will move those lot lines to allow for all the on-street parking to be fully within the city's right of way.
So right now, we currently have no parking on that side of the street,
On Durkee?
correct?
Correct.
So you're gonna, not you, but we're gonna put diagonal spaces and these places that can't be plowed out readily, on that side of the street and hope it works?
That was the recommendation made by the Parking Advisory Committee to the Common Council, subject to traffic analysis of turning into a one-way street.
Yeah, so DOT shot down using diagonal parking on Bridge Street,
Bridge Street is a state highway.
but for a reason, not just because it's a state highway, because of what it entails. So I would just have to say that if those diagonal spaces make up the number that is being produced, the number of spaces, I think it's false, because I think you're gonna end up not using them. And also, you have a number of right-of-ways there that I don't think you should be blocking the parking spaces on the other side of the street. So some of those counts should come off also.
I'm just gonna tell
Stop,
you
leave it when you want, Ron.
that this is not part of the planned unit development special use permit.
Well,
I'm not saying it's not
shown on this
important,
drawing,
wait,
so-
I'm not saying it's not an important
Yeah.
thing. It's not part of what we're,
Fine, I
it's
just
not
wanna
part of
point
our
it out.
jurisdiction.
I'm not here to argue the thing.
Yeah, it's
Point of
okay.
information only, that's all. So, and my other question was with John, but you answered it with the plan unit
Right,
development first floor
Yep, okay.
residences, so.
All right, thanks.
Before we, you are, just for everyone in the audience,
Matt Miller, Director of Community
Okay.
Development for the City of Plattsburgh.
thank you.
Okay,
And chairman of the parking.
thanks.
Thank you.
Did you have,
Yes.
okay. Tell her your name and address.
Yes, my name is Sil Bodro, S-Y-L Bodro. I live on 18 Lavender Avenue here in town. And I'm involved with the Save Jerky Parking Lot group that has a Facebook page. And using the Facebook page, we generated a change.org petition on Friday that has been described by Scott Allen. And so basically I have like lots of insights into what people are saying about the development. And just have a few concerns, maybe some questions as well. If you go around down to, well, first of all, I think one of the issues has to do with how this project evolved, and I just wanted to just put it out there that the original DRI plan, which people in this town did not necessarily approve of, it was imposed on us by a decision made by the state. But the original DRI plan called for 45 units, and it called for a number of different public features, and also 1 acre of public green space. And what happened over time was what I call gradualism. the plans kept changing, and at one point, a very much higher number of units was created. It went to 2 buildings, then now it's back to 1 U-shaped building. And in all the process of these gradual changes, there was never any public input into what the population of Plattsburgh felt about it. So I think one of the reasons why people are so angry in this community and why they're shouting on the streets, which I've never seen happen before in this town, is that people felt like they haven't been consulted in a continuous fashion. And the DRI handbook really specifies that people should be continuously consulted, and that consultation process should be inclusive and ongoing. And we're supposed to be a community that is trying to reinvigorate itself, and everyone in our group wants our community to do that. It's just that they have a different idea as to how that should go about. And they haven't been consulted, and they feel like they're being blocked out and stonewalled. And what that results in is what I would call a crisis of legitimacy, in that the city council appears to be going forward with a project without, I haven't heard any Facebook pages in support of the project, and I haven't heard much in support of it, so maybe I'm not getting the right end of the stick. But my sense is that this process has been closed, and the city's making decisions, and then we get to sit there after and comment on them.
Okay.
So that's my first issue is I'm very worried about that process. So my next question is, I actually would like to ask, could I ask a question to the
Sure, go ahead.
representatives of the company?
Well,
Well,
start.
my question is that part of the project calls for commercial space. And I'm really worried because I'm thinking about the white elephant up on Broad Street, known as the Broad Street Commons, where the city approved of this massive development for student housing. And it turns out that the people who put that together hadn't done their market survey and didn't know that student enrollment was declining because New York State is aging and doesn't have many young people anymore. And it turns out that that project faced bankruptcy and the city had to bail it out. I think you guys must all know the story of that. So that project was a pie-in-the-sky initiative based on a misunderstanding of our local demography and our local economy. So my question is, this project is optimistically saying if we build it, they will come, and we're gonna build commercial space on the ground floor. And I've been walking around downtown Plattsburgh, and I noticed that there's at least 10 vacant commercial spaces in the downtown area proximate to Durkee Street. So if we already have empty, and I'm asking this legitimately, because if this goes through, I want this to succeed. And I want you to also be mindful of the fact that in 2007, we had another big development known as the Gateway Project, which was supposed to have commercial units on the main floor, and it took 10 years for that main floor to fill, and the corner unit has only recently been filled by the Glens Falls National Bank. So, and it never did attract retail. There was a restaurant there from Lake Placid at one point, an Italian restaurant. It failed, and then it remained empty. So my question is, we already have empty downtown storefronts, and they're not filling. So once we build this mega project with downtown storefronts, what has the company done a market survey to see that we have demand in the next 10 years for more retail spaces downtown? So that's one of my points.
Okay.
It's a very serious concern. I also want to ask about what the word amenity means on this.
What the word what?
Amenity. There are
Amenities?
amenities there.
Yeah, what does amenities mean?
So the amenities are, those will be inside the courtyard of the first floor of the building, and those are different areas for the people who live in the building to gather. So there'll be grills and different types of outdoor seating in that area.
Will there be a wall there, or will it be accessible to the public?
That'll be for just the residents of the building,
So there are no public amenities on this property?
not inside the complex itself.
Well, the rest is a parking lot, so I don't see a parking lot as a public amenity.
The first floor, where Durkee Street comes out, that the whole area is it's on the same level. And actually, the amenities area, down along the bottom, where you see the darker shaded area, that's where the proposed river walk is. There's actually an elevation difference there, so those amenities will be above that area a little bit.
So along the river is a public space, correct?
The river walk is a public space, so that's being designed by others. And we were asked to show that just so we could incorporate the different plans into
So there's, just for the record, that there's no public amenities, other than walking through the parking lot and getting to the walk, which is not part of the development. So, I just want to, point out that the original plan called for 1 acre of green space, including a public meeting space for the community, so we
Okay.
bemoan the loss of that space.
And that's part of the DRI or
Yes,
something?
the original plan. And it had a sculpture venue, it had an official marketplace, it had many other features that
Okay.
were supposed to be for public accessibility. So the green space has gone from so the gradualism is that the green space has gradually been reduced to the point where now it's about 1/10 of an acre, if that, at all.
Okay.
And the green space that's put here for future development is not the city's, but Prime's, and they can do what they want with it. It might be green space, it might not be.
So there's another portion, if I could,
Sure,
speak
go
to
ahead.
that.
Sure, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just north, or, I get my directions right, sorry, west, above on the other side of Turkey Street, the small shaded area, that's where the proposed art park is going to be. And then the connector that comes down, that walkway right there, that we've got the green circle showing the trees, there's some benches, that's the connector corridor between the arts park and the Riverwalk along the Saranac that's being, completed by others. That is open green space, so that the paver section there, which is the hatch mark, that's about a 20-foot wide, 25-foot wide, area. And then there's gonna be, as you come down that, the part of the reason to pull everything over to one side was to open it up, so that the green space, there's more of a visual going from the arts park and connecting it down to the Riverwalk. So there is a considerable amount of green space on the outside of the area that, we're constructing, and that is completely open.
Thank
So-
you, thank you. All right, so let me move on. I also want to say on a personal level that I'm a cyclist, and cyclists hate diagonal parking. Because when you have on-street parking and cars are parked on that side of the road and you're going in that direction, you can see if there's people inside about to open their door. And you can see when people are making the move to come out of their space. Diagonal parking is such that people back out, and if you're a cyclist, they don't see you, and you don't
Yeah,
even see
but
that.
again, that's not, that parking, the diagonal parking and all that, that's Durkee Street. That is not what we're here to consider.
Which raises my next question.
We're-
I'm just new to this, so I need to ask this. Are you gonna evaluate as a zoning board the project itself? Because there was no diagonal parking until we complained about parking, and then Prime decided to pull their building back and change the configuration, and somehow this plan came up to have the diagonal parking. So the diagonal parking to me is part of the plan.
No,
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you're incorrect.
I'm wrong.
And I'm not trying to be,
No, I know.
no, we as a zoning board, however much or little we would want to consider any of the other aspects, and I think what you're gonna see is that this project is gonna be considered as part of the entire DRI at some point, okay? Eventually, what's gonna happen is, yes, as I said, we are creating a different planned unit development. What happens to that planned unit development is still up to discussion. They've got preliminary plan, just bear with me a second. They have a preliminary plan. They're saying, we know that the planned unit development that's gonna be created and eventually need a special use permit is gonna be this big and it's gonna have this boundary. That's what we know. What's not in that boundary is all that Durkee Street with the diagonal parking, so we're not considering that. We consider it in a different way as people use that as an example of other city, if there were other city amenities there, or the fact that something's happening with West Telecom Park, or whatever's happening throughout the DRI in general in the city. But we as a zoning board, and the things that we can listen and talk to about, pertain to this planned unit development, both the changing of the one that exists now by subdividing off lots and merging a lot, and what we end up with, including the lots that ICV becomes separate, Broad Street becomes separate, West Telecom becomes separate, Highway O comes in. That's what we're considering. I want to read to you, and not to interrupt you, but also this is probably more appropriate later on in the process, but I want you to understand, right out of the zoning book, everybody should listen to this. This is what we're going to do here. This is what this is about. We're going to be asked to grant a special use permit, and this is what it says in our code, and this is important. Standards Such special use permits, however, may be authorized by the zoning board of appeals only upon satisfaction of each instance of such conditions as to the general character, height, and use of the structure or structures, as to the provision of surrounding open space and the treatment of grounds, as to the general fitness of the structure or use to its proposed location, as to the provision for automobile parking or storage, and as to street capacity and use, as, in the opinion of the board, may be necessary to safeguard public health, convenience, and as may be required for the preservation of the general character of the neighborhood in which such building and/or structure is to be placed, or such use is to be conducted. Specifically, the standards established by this chapter shall be applied as they may be applicable to a specific request for a special use permit. To assist the zoning board of appeals in its determination, an application for a special use permit shall be accompanied by plans and other descriptive matters sufficient to clearly portray the intentions of the applicant, and such plans and other descriptive matter shall become a part of the record. That's what we're doing. We are going to examine and create grant a special use permit to create a planned unit development that fits size-wise and takes care of the general character of the neighborhood and all those things I just read. It happens to be 360-31, the numbers just changed of the code. Okay? That's what we're here for, to grant a special use permit eventually, because they are, in a sense, and I've used this phrase before, they're a matter of right if you meet those conditions. That's not an easy necessarily set of conditions to meet. That's not, go ahead, build 10 million square feet of stuff. What's it say? That's what we're here for. That's what this transparent process is here for. Okay?
Thank you very much. Could I respond to you, just ever so
Sure.
briefly? You did mention that you're evaluating the surrounding, its impact on the surrounding open space, and you did mention preserving the general
That's right.
character of the neighborhood, so.
But right now, we're not gonna, I don't know anything about that parking plan. I don't even know if that's right. I'm not gonna talk about that until somebody gives me a plan that says, this is really the plan, this is what everybody's come up with together for this area, this planned unit development, the area around it. That I can't guess that that's what they're gonna do, or that that's gonna be one way or not be one way, till somebody says, no, really. This is the plan, and we've got an approved seeker for this plan that says it doesn't have any environmental impact. Then we can start to have public comment, questions about, wait, I don't like this, wait, I do like that. That's what the time, and unfortunately, we're not at that place yet. I'm not saying we aren't gonna be at that place. What most important is what I just read. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make sure it fits. That's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're gonna do. Nobody's asking, as far as I know, asking us to do anything different.
Just because I'm new at this, could I ask you, who is going to look at the entire way that it's gonna reconfigure the downtown parking system? What board is gonna look at that?
Some of that pertains to this plan unit development, probably, some doesn't. Does Durkee Street eventually? Probably. But I can't tell you tonight. So there's no point in our discussing whether or not the slanted spaces work, because we don't even know if that's what it's gonna be.
All right, well, I thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'm actually gonna close this right now, because this is really an informal, informational thing, and I thank you very much. You brought a lot of information, sure gave people stuff to talk about. I thank everybody that came. I thank you for the petition. It definitely shows that there's some interest both ways. This all is public. We probably will not be back here to talk to Prime for a little while. I don't believe it'll be July. I could be wrong, but I don't think so, but maybe. But I doubt it. And as the plans change, I'm sure they're gonna be on the city website and available for everybody to look at. Any other questions? No? Thank you. I'll check that.
Office use and retail are essentially the same.
Is this
One for
meeting
two.
officially over?
No.
Not over yet.
All right.
Okay, it's-
And once it's
there's some
over, it's
difference
over,
between
we're out of here.
Office use is 250 across the board. Retail is 150, except for.
Okay.
stores.
Okay.
I did. I didn't see anything glaring.
Um,
Did you guys see anything glaring on the minutes?
Essentially.
No, I
Did you guys read them?
They're fine. Yeah. I did.
I read too fast, so I would've noticed if it was on the space cadet.
I had no memory to recall, so it's one of those different.
I used to, not anymore. I think kids did it.
Thank you.
You're taking recess. Taking a 4-hour break. Like a ransom situation?
That's the farmer's market woman, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. Okay. We're done with our agenda. Do we have any minutes?
Minutes?
Yeah.
We have 2 sets of minutes,
Which ones? We have May?
April 8th and
April 8th. We did
Anybody have any
April.
questions on
We
May?
did April.
I don't know, they
April
were in the
college?
package,
No?
They were?
Plus?
Was it just because they were amended?
No? Interested?
or were they?
How come you're here?
Do we have both
They
of
might
them?
have been amended. I don't,
I'm from the Press Republican and she's from the Sun.
Okay, great.
did we approve,
April 8th,
April minutes already
Yeah.
last time? We didn't? Why, cause why? There was a.
oh, that was me.
Nice going.
It had to do with the number of people
That were here.
that voted for something and they couldn't, they weren't there or something like that.
Oh, okay, I thought we approved them anyway. I don't even have those anymore, over there.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Did we do April? I'm sorry.
I guess
apologize.
not.
Okay.
Oh, that was it. The approval of the March 18 minutes had 4 or 5 people, and there were only 3 people there that could approve it.
Mhm.
So they modified that. So I'll make a motion in regards to the
Are you all
April
set, both of you?
Yeah,
8th,
thank you.
2019 meeting minutes to approve them as amended and included in our package.
I'll second.
All approved? All, aye?
Aye.
Now what are we on, April?
May. I'll make a motion in regards to the May 20th, 2019 meeting minutes to approve them as written.
Second.
Second by Kelly, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other business? No? Looking for a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Seconded by Scott, Steve, and Kelly, and Ron. All in favor?
Aye. Now it's over.
All right, I gotta come over and say hi to my buddy over here.
How we doing, Tom?
Been a long time, nice to see you. I was looking at that, that looks like a young you.
Yeah, I know. You know what? In a minute, I'm gonna tell you something.